Maxim Gorky, born Aleksei Maksimovich Peshkov, was a Russian writer and political activist who lived from 1868 to 1936. He is considered one of the most significant literary figures of the 20th century, and his works have had a profound impact on Russian literature and culture. Gorky's life was marked by poverty, hardship, and political turmoil, and his writing reflects these experiences. Maxim Gorky was born on March 28, 1868, in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. His parents were both poor and illiterate, and his father died when he was only 5 years old. Gorky's mother, Varvara Kashirina, remarried, but her second husband was abusive, and Gorky was forced to leave home at the age of 8. He lived on the streets for several years, working odd jobs and begging for food. Despite his difficult upbringing, Gorky was a voracious reader and was largely self-educated. He read widely in Russian literature and philosophy, and his early writing was heavily influenced by the works of Nikolai Chernyshevsky, a radical writer and philosopher who advocated for social and political reform. Gorky began his career as a writer in the 1890s, publishing a series of short stories and essays that were critical of the social and political conditions in Russia. His early works, such as Marka Chudra and Chelkash, were set in the world of the urban poor and depicted the struggles of ordinary people against poverty and oppression. In 1899, Gorky published his first major work, The Lower Depths, a play that was set in a flophouse and depicted the lives of the destitute and marginalized. The play was a critical and commercial success, and it established Gorky as one of the leading literary figures of his time. Over the next several years, Gorky continued to write prolifically, publishing a series of novels, plays, and essays that were critical of the Russian government and the social and economic conditions in the country. His works were widely read and admired, and he became a leading voice in the Russian literary and intellectual community. Maxim Gorky's books were Mother, Three Men. He wrote novels. There are A Rolling Stone, Chelkash, Creatures That Once Were Men, My Fellow Traveler, etc. As Maxim Gorky's short stories are A Woman, Chums, Bibin, Her Lover, In a Mountain Defile, In the Steppe, Kalanin, Malva, Nalushka, On a Raft, On a River Steamer, One Autumn Night, Chelcake, The Affair of the Clasps, The Billionaire, The Birth of a Man, The Cemetery, The Dead Man, The Icebreaker, The Outcasts, 26 Men and a Girl and Waiting for the Ferry, etc. His essays were fragments of recollections. In addition to his literary work, Gorky was also a committed political activist. He was a member of the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party, which later split into the Bolshevik and Menshevik factions. Gorky was initially aligned with the Mensheviks, who advocated for a more moderate approach to political reform, but he later became disillusioned with the party and its leadership. During the Russian Revolution of 1905, Gorky was active in the revolutionary movement and was briefly imprisoned for his political activities. He continued to write and publish during this time, and his works became increasingly political and critical of the government. After the revolution was suppressed, Gorky went into exile in Italy, where he continued to write and publish. He remained politically active, however, and was involved in organizing the Bolshevik Party, which came to power in the Russian Revolution of 1917. In the years following the revolution, Gorky became a prominent figure in Soviet cultural and political life. He was a close friend of Vladimir Lenin and was appointed the first chairman of the Union of Soviet Writers, a position he held until his death. Gorky continued to write and publish during this time, but his works became increasingly influenced by Soviet ideology and propaganda. He wrote several works that were critical of the West and praised the achievements of the Soviet Union, including The Life of Klim Sam-jin and The Mother. Despite his close association with the Soviet government, Gorky remained a controversial figure, and his works were often subject to censorship and criticism. He died in 1936, and his legacy remains a subject of debate among literary scholars and political activists. However, 5 reasons why Soviet writer Maxim Gorky is so great. There are his books depict the reality in Russia that he saw. Leo Tolstoy was jealous of his success. Honorary member of the Academy of Sciences at age 34, stormy petrel of the revolution, and the most influential writer in the USSR. Maxim Gorky was a significant literary figure whose works had a profound impact on Russian literature and culture. His writing was marked by a deep concern for social and political justice, and his works depicted the struggles of ordinary people against poverty and oppression. Gorky was also a committed political activist who was involved in the revolutionary movement, and played a prominent role in Soviet cultural and political life. Despite his close association with the Soviet government, however, Gorky's legacy remains a subject of debate, and his works continue to be read and studied by scholars and readers around the world.